Now, here's the thing. I'm not one to typically get all up into the NHL's grill, talking about schedules and talking about teams that got screwed over, but I think with the Montreal Canadiens, it's a little easy to do that this year. And I'm not saying that I have all the answers as to why that is in this particular webpage. I mean, we're scrolling through the Canadian schedule, we're looking at the December time and the new year, January and all that. It's not even fitting onto the screen properly. Let's see if we can zoom out and make it look a little better. Okay, there you go. Probably should have had it like this from the very beginning. But the Montreal Canadiens schedule is really tough. They arguably got screwed over by the way that these games are assembled. And here's the thing. It might not be too apparent when you just look at the calendar and just try to digest what's going on. But once you fully just start internalizing some of these matchups here, that's when it gets a little bit dire to be a Montreal Canadiens player, especially to close out the 2025-2026 season. To help us out, let's go over onto a post made by Montreal Hockey Now's Mark Dumont from July 16th, 2025. Now, full disclosure, I am recording this audio on the night of July 16th. It's actually July 17th's morning right now. But this video will be published at a later date because I am going on a trip. Let's dive into how the Canadiens were given a difficult schedule with the most back-to-back games. You might have already seen it as we had scrolled through the calendar over the past page there, but still, let's dive into the words here. The Canadiens will open the 25-26 season by facing the Maple Leafs, yada yada yada. That is very common. The first game will take place October 8th on the road, followed by another road game, yada yada yada. This is where things get quite difficult for Montreal. No other team has more back-to-back games on their schedule. However, the Penguins, the Sharks, the Islanders, and the Kings will also have to deal with a cramped schedule due to the Olympic break that is set to take place in February. On average, NHL teams are getting one more back-to-back this season compared to last season. In 2024-2025, teams had an average of 12.4 back-to-back games. The number of back-to-back games during this season goes as follows. The average seems to be right there at 13.4, with teams like Winnipeg and Calgary only getting 9. They have the fewest back-to-backs in the National Hockey League. Most of the teams have 13, some have 14 and 15, but the Habs, Kings, Islanders, Penguins, and Sharks all have 16. Oh my goodness, you could even toss the Islanders into that as well. Let's go back over onto the article, though, to just kind of get a feel as to where these games are going to go. The start of Montreal's season features a lower quality of competition, offering them a good opportunity to start the year on the right track, which may be a necessity when evaluating the rest of the schedule. Things get difficult in late November, with the team facing 3 consecutive back-to-back games. They'll face the Golden Knights and Avalanche on the 28th and 29th, followed by games against the Sens and Jets on the 2nd and 3rd, before facing the Leafs and Blues on the 6th and 7th of December. Yikes, eh? Let's go back over to the November portion of the 2025 season. Ay, look at that back-to-back situation against these Cup champions. Vegas and then Colorado, followed up by a doubleheader against Ottawa and Winnipeg, and then Toronto, St. Louis, and then even the next week they got New York, Edmonton too. So some pretty strong teams all in that little stretch there from the end of November, start of December. Let's go back over onto the article here. The Habs will have to deal with a rough schedule in March and April. They're set to play 23 games in less than a month and a half, including 6 back-to-back games on the docket. This stretch of games will put an onus on having good starts from backup goalies, a key factor to winning the second leg of back-to-back games. So, Jakub Dobeš, please demonstrate your talent for us. The schedule will further complicate their bid to qualify for the playoffs, ensuring a continual upward trajectory in a season that will carry many more expectations than previous years. Given the Habs sneaked into the playoffs last year, some may expect them to cruise their way to springtime hockey due to the improvements of the team made by acquiring Dobson and Bolduc. There's no denying both players should add important elements to the Canadiens, but we also remember the comedy of errors from several Eastern Conference teams that led to the Canadiens' playoff appearance in 2025. That's not to say they will definitely miss the playoffs next season, but the difficult schedule will certainly muddy the waters. And I like Dumont's response to that idea here. Pretty much saying that, yeah, it's not impossible for the Habs to go out there and make the playoffs, but based off of their opponents in the second half of the year, especially post-Olympic break, I mean, they're going to get cut off throughout the majority of February over here. And then they're just going to have to play balls-to-the-wall hockey. I mean, back-to-backs against California teams, you have back-to-backs against Ontario teams, multiple back-to-backs against these California teams. Then you got a back-to-back against Nashville, and then you got a back-to-back against Carolina. And then in April, you have all these games, New Jersey, Columbus, New York. There are a ton of back-to-back scenarios for the Montreal Canadiens, and because of the strength of the schedule, I mean, just look at the teams they're playing to end off the year. Philadelphia, okay, I don't really think they're going to be all too great, but a lot of folks are expecting Mrtka to make some sort of an impact over there. But Florida, Tampa Bay, New Jersey twice, the Rangers are in there. That's kind of difficult to end off the year for Montreal. And then you got Carolina so many times in the month of March, not to mention the Tampa Bay Lightning there as well, the Leafs. Anaheim is supposed to be a force to be reckoned with this season. Montreal has a lot of their, let's just say, feeding in the early parts of the year. This is where you have the Chicagos, the Buffaloes, the Vancouvers, the Seattles. October seems to be the time for Montreal to get an early lead and start grabbing those points. Now, I know what some of y'all might be thinking. Hey, just because the Canadiens get off to a hot start, just because they win 10 in a row to start out a season, doesn't mean they're going to make the playoffs. It's not guaranteed. Yeah, that is very true. It is unfortunate that sometimes that does not guarantee playoff presence, but still, you take it as you go, right? Especially with the Montreal Canadiens getting charged with so many back-to-back games in the second half of the year after the Olympics. It's going to be difficult for the Canadiens to make the playoffs. It's not impossible, just difficult. And we also do have to remember, as Dumont pointed out here, that so many teams were hilariously inconsistent and bad to end off the 24-25 season, which allowed the Canadiens to squeak into the playoffs. They actually had a lot of leeway before they inevitably qualified for it because they just could not get the points that they needed in the final few weeks of the season to qualify, but they had a really good run after the Four Nations break, which allowed them to get into that playoff spot in general. So who knows if some of that magic is still present this upcoming season, especially with the new talent in Montreal. Expectations are higher for this Habs team, but the schedule is a lot more difficult. They were given one of the worst schedules in the NHL this upcoming season, with all the back-to-backs and all of their difficult matchups taking place in the second half of the year. Yeah, I think the Habs did kind of get screwed here, but it's one of these things, man. Shogun and I, we just have to deal with it and see how the Canadiens handle it themselves, right? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Montreal Canadiens going out there and getting one of these bad schedules for the 25-26 season? Do you think they'll be able to handle it? Let me know your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.